Today's video is all about taking your film camera to the next level with onboard video assist. Film cameras have a very inherent problem, which of course digital video kind of solves, which is with film cameras, you really only have one way of seeing what you're shooting, which is the built-in viewfinder on the camera. There are very few cameras out there that do not have some sort of viewfinder. And if they do not have a viewfinder, it's a very horrible rangefinder system and it's completely useless. All commercial cameras have some sort of built-in through the lens viewing or reflex viewfinder. So here you are on set, you've got 5, maybe 10 people with you, and they all want to see the shot that you're shooting. Back in the day, they would literally take a video camera and attach it to the top of the film camera, and of course, back when the cameras were big, and they would then send that signal to a TV set. This is the way it was done very, very early on, until someone came up with the idea of built-in video tap. And of course, they were horrible when they first came out, absolutely atrocious. And video tap technology has changed dramatically because if you think about it, you have to have a beam splitter to be able to get the signal that normally goes to the viewfinder to then the video camera. Now, beam splitters lose a lot of light. And on this Titan camera here, the beam splitter is only 20% of the light. 80% goes to your eye, 20% goes to the video camera. Now, back in the day, video cameras were very sensitive, not sensitive enough. As a consequence, you really couldn't use a regular camera. So the video camera on the video taps on modern cameras needs to be very, very efficient. You need to be able to see with very, very low light because you're only getting, again, 20% of the light that the viewfinder is getting. And let's just say you're shooting 500 tungsten and you're, maybe shooting all the way open and it's really, really dark. Your video tap's not going to get much of a signal at all. It's going to be really, really bad. And so the camera technology is what made taps get better and better and better, not necessarily the optical or the beam splitter technology. That's been the same for a long time. And of course, it went from black and white to color because of this exact problem. So over the years, the black and white cameras were a little more efficient than the color ones were. And because color in general, composite color, is blurry and soft, they just said, forget it. Black and white's the way to go. In fact, some of the best video taps for the Titan cameras are actually black and white, not color. And that technology has finally migrated up to the color taps, and the last generation of color video taps available from both Arri and Titan are actually very, very good. So how do you get a video tap on your camera? And that's one of the biggest questions people ask. And it really boils down to the age of the camera. So a lot of cameras can take a video tap, and the way it would work is that you would actually take off the viewfinder and actually put a video tap there. And that's how the Bolex taps work and a lot of the Eclair taps. They basically replace the viewfinder with a video tap. And that means you're getting a lot of light, which is what you need. And of course, you're going to lose your viewfinder, so that would be trouble to get focus and stuff like that. But if you need a tap, that's how to do it. Now, some of the other cameras, like the Aeroflex 35 cameras, the 2C and the 3, they actually have a different way of doing the tap entirely because they only send the light one direction to the door. And so what you do is you actually put the tap in the door assembly. It actually is kind of interesting. The light goes into the door and there's a beam splitter in the door and the tap is sitting straight on top of it, and then you can look through the viewfinder. Jergens made a door like that. It's an awesome product. And it allows those older cameras to be able to see with video taps, which is cool. The 35-3 has a very similar design as well. And then over time, Arri decided, well, heck, we're going to have to put a beam splitter into the camera. So the BLs have a beam splitter built into them, and every camera Arri's made after that has had a beam splitter built in. All the movie cams have had beam splitter built in. And then, of course, all the Titans have had the ability to do beam splitters, but not all of them had it built in. Same goes for the SRs. In fact, if you look at 16mm, you'll find way fewer cameras with video taps than you will on 35mm. It seems like as of the mid to late 70s, all the cameras had it. But with 16mm cameras, not so much. They had the option to do what's called a T-bar tap, which basically means that the viewfinder comes off to the other side and there's a tap hanging off this side and the beam splitter is built into the viewfinder. You see that a lot on the Arri cameras. Very, very common. But it's not very good. Again, not quite enough light going to the video tap, and the video tap itself wasn't very good. Now, you could upgrade that to HD, of course, nowadays, because it's just a standard screw-on or bayonet mount. Not that difficult to deal with. However, you're dealing with a lot of cost at that point, and a lot of R&D. The integrated taps are really cool because there's nothing to do. You just basically plug it all in, you're working. So for me, I prefer having a camera that the tap was kind of integrated with in the first place. What to look for on the Titan cameras to see if you could have a tap are, this is where the camera goes in the Titan cameras, and this is the electronics. The electronics basically only drive what you see on the display in terms of the outlines for the frame and also some of the data. The camera itself does most of the work itself. The video taps that Titan uses are Sony taps. And so they're very, very high quality and they're very, very low noise. And that's one of the nice things. The VSA and the VHD are the best taps, but they're very, very rare and difficult to find. These are completely flicker-free taps. They make zero flicker when running the camera. And in fact, when you run the camera, it actually kicks the gain up automatically. So when you lose that stop or two in exposure, it comes back automatically, which is really, really nice. And it won't dive into a bunch of noise either, even shooting in very, very dark conditions. It's a very, very good product. I highly recommend trying to find one if you can. The Titan Xterra has a VHD, and so doesn't the Penelope. And the VHD is actually a high-definition video tap sensor that was then compressed down to 525 lines in the United States and then spit out with composite. It was not a digital system. It was still an analog system. And most video taps are going to be composite. And that's one of the confusions people have is they get a camera like this and they go, well, hey, you know, my video tap is not working with my HD monitor. And it's like, well, yeah, this is composite video, not serial digital video, which is what your monitors are looking for. Back in the day, the monitors like this one were all composite video. And in fact, they made wireless systems like this one from Transvideo that broadcast the analog signal to analog monitors like this one, which have built-in receivers. So this monitor from Transvideo is actually considered a reference grade monitor with not only a built-in wireless receiver, but also built-in Anton Bauer battery mount. Super awesome. This monitor is called an R2R FRX, and it is a pretty amazing little monitor, 6.5 inch. It's part of the Rainbow series of monitors. It has all the same functions as the Rainbows, and you just take your Anton Bauer battery, plug it onto the back of the monitor. You got your antenna right there. And then to get the video system working, all you got to do is take your wireless and plug it in. I've actually kind of built this kit, so it's a little bit different than what most people might use, but still, it works. And then what we do is just stick this on like this, and we plug this into here like so, and it's on channel D, so all we do is turn this monitor on, and we should get a signal momentarily, because it is all set to go. Boom. There's our video tap. And as you'll see when we run the camera, flicker free. Very, very nice. And so now you can take this monitor anywhere you want to go. It goes about 100 feet, no problem at all, as long as you don't have any cell phone signal around it. That's one of the things about the analog signal monitors. The analog signal monitors are actually illegal. I mean, whatever. They have a little bit of interference with cell phones. So if you have a room full of a bunch of people who are using cell phones, or you're in a location where cell phones are a problem, you know, it might not work very well. It might only go 50 feet. But it does work. And you can also use a receiver, okay, to plug into a bigger monitor. Like we've got some big 17-inch monitors down here, and we can use receiver and Velcro on the back of the monitor, run it off our standard 12-volt power, and we're good to go. So this kit is called the Titan from Transvideo. You can get them on eBay for peanuts. Do not spend a lot of money on these because they're not very good. But if you want a wireless system for your old cameras, this is the way to go. You can add them onto the camera, and we have Noggle arms and monitors that can plug into the other output on the video tap. And it's really, really great, you know? So your wireless people can see the video signal, your onboard camera guy can see the signal. And no, I mean, it's not good enough to be able to pull focus off of, but you know, most taps aren't. There's very, very few taps with ground glass removal from Arri that can be full focus. I think the Arri HD taps are probably the best tap on the market outside of what Panavision's doing, which is removing the optical viewfinder entirely and putting in a very high quality tap and no ground glass. And so they're doing that to some of their XL2s, and it's a really great system. I'd love to use it someday just to see what it's like to have a monitor instead of a optical viewfinder. But to me, I think one of the things that bridges the differential between digital people and analog people is that they want this. You know, they want to see what they're shooting. And that's, to them, the most important thing. And so this solution from Transvideo does work. Now, what if your camera doesn't have the accoutrement already on it? What if you buy an old LTR, or you buy maybe an SR2 or something like that doesn't have it? Well, that's going to be a little trickier because, especially with the SRs, that T-bar assembly is very difficult to get. Now, the SR3s have a different style tap assembly, and you can definitely get them. There's actually built into the handle, very similar to the LTRs. And that handle assembly is a little easier to get a hold of than the T-bar system. So you should definitely look for a camera that has that T-bar viewfinder built in with the tap if you're going to buy one. Or if you're going to buy one, try to find one that's been heavily modified, kind of like the SR3s have. The IVS system that Arri developed for the SR3 is very good. And some people have gone back and kind of tweaked SR2s to make that system work. It's not the same, obviously. It's a kind of different system, but it doesn't have a T-bar anymore. It has a more integrated tap solution. So yes, you can actually get HD taps nowadays for these older cameras. AZ Spectrum, Visual Products, Dual Camera, these guys offer a bunch of HD taps for Atons and Arris. You can also get taps for Arri cams as well from Indie Assist, which are in the $10,000 range for not only 435s, but also Arri cams and supposedly the 416 eventually. So you can integrate now with modern electronics, so modern monitors and modern wireless systems, which is really nice. So be very careful when you buy a camera that doesn't have a tap at all. If you want a tap, buy a camera that does have a tap already, and that you can upgrade, because I think that's the best way to go about it. And if you want to do wireless video, and if you want to do HD wireless video, you have to convert the composite signal to HD, or in this case, just serial digital first. So you're going to have to put an Aja box inside of the camera. Then you're going to have to use a modern wireless system, which of course isn't going to want to really attach to the camera, especially on an Aton. You have more boxes, more power requirements. It's kind of a mess. That's why I like this analog tap, because the analog system fits beautifully. It integrates into the camera. I mean, this is in the camera. It's integrated. This is my wireless system on my camera, completely integrated. It's not going to come off, you know? And that's really, really nice to have. I can't tell you how many times I've been on sets and, you know, the video tap system just basically doesn't really exist. It's just kind of hanging off the camera, and that sucks. You want something really nice and integrated, and that's why I like this kit so much. We're going to do probably a bigger video about how wireless works eventually when we get onto some bigger shows later this year. But this is a good introductory video for people. And I gave you some part numbers so you can kind of look around eBay. And that's also one of the critical things, because you're never going to find this equipment new. It's always going to be used. And you got to be very careful where you get it from, because it might not work. So just be very mindful. Do not spend a lot of money. Make sure you have a 30-day refund available if you do buy some of the stuff. And also make sure that your camera does have a tap already if you want to upgrade the tap. If not, you're sending the whole camera out and getting it rebuilt, because you're going to need to have a beam splitter built into it somewhere. And that's the hard part. So thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will see you next time.